Hello, I am here with Matt Yearling, CEO of YMX Logistics and one of our top transportation professional winners from this year's Rockstars of the Supply Chain Award presented by Food Logistics. Matt, it's so great to see you. I'm happy you're joining me today.
Thank you for having me today, Marina. Really appreciate it.
So let's talk about you. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey and how you got to this current stage in your career.
Well, I do have a little bit of an accent, but I spent most of my life here stateside, but I'm originally from the UK. But I'm dating myself now, been here in the States for 30 years. But I originally started my career actually in the Ministry of Defense back in England as an electrical engineer. And then I became an Oracle database expert and then joined Oracle, moved over with Oracle. And after 15 years, did work for some other big companies like Sage, Symantec, and others. But I mean, my experience is technology. So I've been delivering enterprise software for the last 30 years. So ERP, CRM, security, but more importantly, supply chain with a specialization of nodes on the network. So that's maritime. So in the marine terminals with Ports America, intermodal, manufacturing and distribution facilities. So that's been my prime focus from a technology enablement for decades. So that's kind of my background. I think the most relevant experience as it applies to YMX is, I spent time from 2012 to 2020 scaling Pink Solutions to become the #1 yard management solution provider in the market. So at that time, there wasn't that many entrants in yard management. Now there are plenty, but at the time there wasn't. So that became the #1 and left there when we got a significant equity investment from a private equity company. And now executing YMX Logistics, which, folks always look at me like I'm strange. Why am I a technology guy running a logistics company? Well, it's so important in terms of what we need to do for driving value, but from a customer perspective. So we're definitely redefining yard operations from a number of different aspects, which I'm sure we're going to get into, and doing that very differently. So yeah, this is something that I've been wanting to do for many years, and I'm glad that I've got the opportunity to actually do that now.
So one of your many roles as CEO is to engage with key stakeholders to strengthen your relationships and align YMX with emerging industry trends and market demands. From where you sit, what are some of the emerging industry trends and market demands?
Yeah, so it is interesting. When you look at the market in general, most people, obviously most of the spend is on transportation, then warehousing, and then this blind spot between the two is always been this underserved area that is very fragmented, lacks technology enablement, lacks focus, lacks competence. And that's kind of the area that is the prime importance for us. So when we talk to the industry leaders in this area, it's very clear what's missing. There's a lack of consistency, a lack of efficiency. Really, what folks are trying to do is trying to do more with less, always. Right? Always trying to do more with less. Obviously, to improve efficiency, reducing cost, and minimize risk. And then, how does that support the overall objectives for the company, including sustainability, which is also a key factor, which we can do from a number of different perspectives with electrification and technology enablement. That's another big factor. It hasn't been an area that has garnered much attention. I think it's one of these areas that is becoming more popular. Hence, when Pink was in market early on, it was kind of one of the lonely yard management solutions, and now there's plenty. So there is money trying to address these problems. Technology is not the be all and end all, but it's a key part of it. And so when we look at that, it's obviously an area that requires a lot more enablement. I mean, the world is moving faster. There's more data. There's more disruptions, political, natural disasters, and trade wars, and the labor market and automation. So there's a lot of confluence of factors that kind of exacerbate like the issues that we have in this area. And as I say, technology what you see is a myriad of solutions out there that's really promising to deliver much more than they're actually delivering. And everybody's looking for a widget. There's general fatigue associated with it, with trying to find the widget. And in actuality, I've got a different perspective now. So I was delivering widgets. Now I'm on this side. I'm actually seeing the people that are consuming and using the widgets. And what you see is maybe 50% of the time they're getting the value they expected to get, 50% of the time that they're not, 100% of the time there's more value to be made, right? And so how do you do that? And so that's part and parcel of really what we're going to be focused on. So technology, obviously operations, electrification, autonomy, and then really when you look at it from a big shipper perspective, how do you look at that across your network? Because we're at the termination points of all transportation. So there's a value proposition associated with how we drive value to transportation. We may not have time to go into detail on that, but there's so much opportunity around driving value for transportation. It's still early days, but we're working on some great projects that will materialize in a lot of good value to our customers here in the next year or so.
One of your other roles involves mentoring, leadership, and fostering a strong organizational culture. What does this entail, and why is it important to mentor future transportation professionals?
Yeah. So I think it starts with having a team that possesses a shared perspective and passion for the purpose. Okay. So when you know what your purpose is, I mean, as I say, I've known what my purpose is as soon as I got into supply chain, and I got really focused on these nodes in the network, and I just see what's going on, what the opportunity is. And I'm dealing with like the largest shippers on the planet, and I'm just like seeing it day in, day out. It was very clear. As I say, this is something, YMX was born 10 years ago, okay, in terms of a concept, in terms of what we wanted to do. But it was very clear. I'm very passionate about the cause, and it's really fundamentally shifting how enterprise yard operations happen. And that's the other thing when you look at the market in general, from marine terminals to intermodal rail yards to inland manufacturing and distribution, where the opportunity is, where the technology enablement isn't, where it's all fragmented and how those services are being delivered today, it's like, opportunity is huge. And that's the opportunity for us. So I think having a shared passion and on our purpose is key, right? The other thing is I'm lucky to have a talented team of executives that have been focused on this area for years with different perspectives, right? From a shipper perspective, from an operator perspective, from a technology perspective. And so we have the ability to approach this problem with many different, coming from many different areas, and drive to very good results at the end of the day. So that's good. So we got a team that I've known, all the folks that we've got, I've known them for more than 10 years. And as I say, some have been a customer of mine, some have been a 3PL of mine, some have been, sitting and actually working alongside me at Pink, as an example. So that's great. I think the other thing that's really important is really when you're going down the path, you obviously have, the North Star in terms of where you're heading, but then how do you chunk that up into consumable chunks, over the years? So for sure, 100%, we've got corporate objectives that are simple. The key functions are aligned to that. And then we have the ability to manage our progress down the path to our objective, which is very simple. So again, it's not so difficult when you've already got talented people with a shared level of understand the problem. They're not learning the problem, and to be able to kind of keep this as simple as possible. But we know the sum of all parts really is delivering, a significant differentiated solution in the marketplace. So I think that's good to know. And then the other thing is that when you have a core team of people that are passionate and are excited about what they're doing, it definitely attracts other talent in the industry. So that's what we're finding. We're not like, I purposely like to have a conversation with those key people that we're hiring in the organization, so they get to understand, that we're all passionate about the cause, and we're focused on big things and big outcomes. And I think that's important. And then finally, we have to walk the talk. Okay, so the way that we treat each other with a level of respect and transparency is the exact same way that we talk to our customers. Accountability, transparency. We do what we say we're going to do, and that's extremely important from our customers' perspective. They really want to partner because at the end of the day, 50% of the market insource, 50% of the market outsource. So our value proposition is, hey, we do this. We're so focused on this. We do this better than anybody else on the planet. Why would you not come to us and have a conversation? Trust us to turn this operation around to be of extreme, efficiencies for your organization. Granted, it's only a small part of the operation, but hey, it still has major impact on the warehousing and transportation side. Why wouldn't you have a professional do that on your behalf?
So one of the goals outlined in your submission form is to assist enterprises to maximize efficiency, improve sustainability metrics, and standardize network operations. From a transportation perspective, what does this look like?
Yeah, no, it's good, right? So, and you know this more than anybody, right? So, from a transportation perspective, kind of looping back to what I was saying earlier, when you're looking at transportation and when they come into a facility, it is bad, right? It still is bad. The vast majority of 90+% of facilities don't have any technology enablement. The level of paper that's associated with, coming in with the documents is bad, right? It's lengthy. Dwell times are lengthy. So the opportunity to leverage technology to accelerate, coming in the gate, having predictability and where those things have to be, how they get dropped, how they turn it around, how to manage all of the paperwork and digitalize all that is huge, right? So these are all the elements associated with how we can help our shippers to be more effective from a technology perspective, including how we optimize, the 4 fences to the dock door, to the 4 walls. We optimize that completely, right? So technology can help that. Also, from a talent perspective, how we are really focusing on making sure that the talent is also very attuned to the processes, et cetera, to help that termination point on the transportation lane, right? From a sustainability perspective, it's very polarizing when we look at electrification, right? Everybody say, electrification is not appropriate. Well, so it's what we see as long haul is not necessarily appropriate. Short haul is becoming a little bit more popular for yard operations. It's why wouldn't you do it? From the perspective of what does it mean to the driver? What does it mean to taking pollutants out of the air? What does it mean to asset utilization? Minimizing maintenance costs, et cetera, et cetera. And oh, by the way, we only drive 10 to 15 miles a day. So it's a perfect use case for, electrification. And then the final piece is when you look at a big shipper, right? They, if you're talking a large shipper, they've got 70+ relationships they need to manage from a carrier perspective. Okay. And they're transacting across the network. Not all carriers created equal, not, et cetera, et cetera. When you look at yard operations, there are not many carriers or providers that you could lean into. But how do you create a consistent network of predictability for those carriers coming in and out of your facility to be the shipper of choice and making sure that we are delivering what you want from a customer perspective? So we're not necessarily proposing that you standardize on us across your whole network, but hey, most of your network would be okay. So anyway, providing that level of standardization, consistency, operational efficiencies, consistent driver experience, carrier experience coming in out of those facilities, I think is incredibly important, for what we need to do as well.